Have you noticed that over the last many years, we have seen a significant rise in autism, ADHD, neurodivergence, and a lot of people want to tell us that this is an issue. Oh my gosh, what's in the food? What's in the vaccines? What's making people this way? It's terrible. But I want to challenge that actually, because when I look at it, I think, maybe instead that which we are categorizing as being different is actually a blessing. What if actually this rise in neurodivergence might be tied to the next stage in our evolution? Now, the reason that I say this is because when we look at some of the qualities that are associated with being neurodivergent, and we look at some of the qualities that are associated with being highly spiritual, there is actually quite a bit of crossover. Things like inability to lie or deal with subterfuge, or a complete dislike of cruelty and injustice, the ability to tune in deeply to what's going on beneath the surface and other people's emotions, empathy, connection to the natural world and animal life. These are all things that have been lauded by different spiritual traditions at different times across the globe. And as somebody who does identify as being neurodivergent, for a long time I rejected that label because I was told I was broken, I was less than, I was deficient in some way. But a few people have helped me realize that actually that which I was calling different was actually a blessing. That which made me feel separate from so many of my human peers actually are the things that I view as being most beautiful in my life. And so whether you identify as being on the spectrum, a neurodivergent or ADHD or whatever, or you just know someone or love somebody who is, I'm hoping this conversation today can reframe some things so you too begin to view what is going on in your mind and in your body as being something sacred rather than something shameful. So hey everybody, I'm Kalen. I'm a spiritual life coach. It's an honor to have this conversation with you today. So the first thing I want to bring up is actually difference in brain structure. There's this really tiny part of your brain, deep down. It's one of the older parts of the brain called the caudate-putamen. And it is responsible for a few things. One is pattern recognition, that we're able to see how A influences B, which evolves into C. They find that people who are really good at pattern recognition tend to have enlarged caudate-putamens. They also tend to be highly intuitive, that they're able to sense things that other people, they don't pick up on. Maybe it just goes into their subconscious, but people with pronounced caudate-putamens are able to register them consciously. And they're also known to have sometimes paranormal abilities. So much so, in fact, when the CIA ran its remote viewing program for many years that was highly successful at garnering information from across the globe that these psychic individuals should not have been able to know, they found that pretty much everybody who succeeded at this had enlarged caudate-putamens. They've also shown that in military professionals who have had brain scans, those who are usually involved with intelligence and pattern recognition and reasoning also tend to have enlarged caudate-putamens. And the reason I bring this up, you know who also tends to have unusual caudate-putamens? People who are neurodivergent. Also, interestingly, people who are schizophrenic, who hear and see things that the rest of the world does not see or hear. And yes, some of those are mental illness, but I would hazard to guess that there are also some of those who are tapping into an unseen world that maybe normal humans can't. I actually have a good friend who works with schizophrenic people, and he'll say to me, oh yeah, that person is definitely tapping into something. So right here we get this idea. That which is making your brain function a little bit differently could actually be a huge gift for what you're able to take in and what you're able to process and how you're able to register things that normal society cannot see. So let's dive right into this idea of pattern recognition, of awareness of energies and emotions that others are oblivious to. I know for myself, I can walk into a room and immediately sense what is going on within people. I can feel their emotional tension. I can feel their state of mind. I can be aware of what is motivating them. What do they need? I also have a kinesthetic response of where are people holding tension in their body or in their energy. And it feels like knots. It feels like tightness or areas of restriction. And this is tremendously useful as a spiritual guide and coach, that I can sit with someone and I can resonate with them. And I don't just see or observe their emotional body or their energy body, but I can take it on. I can feel it as if it were my own. And that is a tremendous gift in a lot of circumstances. But there is a fair number of other circumstances where it is very uncomfortable. Being in crowded rooms, being in emotionally heightened spaces. Growing up being in school was terrible for me because of that overwhelming energy. Nothing says heightened emotions like angsty teenagers. And so it was this constant overstimulation everywhere I went. Now, as an adult, I can self-regulate better. Not only do I have tools, but I can opt out of spaces. I can go to quieter venues. I can say, I don't need to go to that party. I don't need to go to that club. You guys go have a great time. I'm going to stay home with my cup of tea and my dog and read a book and watch the rain. But when I was younger, I can remember going shopping with my mom, and the first thing I'd do as soon as we walked into a department store is I'd run to a clothing rack and go hide in the middle to try and create a buffer between me and all the emotions around me that were overwhelming me. Now, I know there's this stereotype that people on the spectrum tend to be oblivious to others' emotions, and there are some who are, but there are also some who experience emotions so much more heightenedly. This is why for many years I thought I was broken, because why can't I enjoy going to parties? Why can't I enjoy going to these large events? And to just learn to recognize, okay, you have a different operating system. It's okay. It's okay. But the way my operating system works is very attuned to how highly spiritually adept individuals talk about living life. Like, there's many stories of great saints who someone's walking on the grass nearby and they cry out in pain because they're feeling the pain of the grass being stepped on. We are all one. We are all emotionally connected is one of the great messages of spirituality. And so I see this as a gift to help me connect with the wider world of sentience. Because we are all divine energy made flesh. We are all the same energy, imagining that we're in separate bodies, but really we're not. You are me, I am you, we are all one. And I know it's probably been hard to live this way. Growing up, all the time I would hear, you gotta stop being so sensitive. You have to stop being so sensitive. Well, in the words of Hannah Gadsby, it's a little bit like a nose being lectured by a fart. I'm not the problem. Maybe I need to be less sensitive. Maybe you just need to get your shit together. Another quality that's common for neurodivergent people that some would see as a limitation, but I see it as a spiritual gift, is my intense connection to truth, honesty, and transparency. What you see is what you get. If I'm going to tell you that I'm not coming to your event because I'm not feeling well, it's going to be the truth. I'm legitimately not feeling well. I'm not coming up with an excuse. And likewise, if I don't like you, I will just tell you I don't like you. I don't play games. I don't manipulate. In fact, I don't understand it. It just doesn't make sense to me on a cellular level. But people find this very confusing. I've actually had new friends call up and be like, oh my gosh, when you said you were sick, you actually were. You weren't just blowing me off. I was like, yeah. But it seems like neurotypical people don't operate this way. They're very comfortable with lying. They're very comfortable with subterfuge. Not too long ago, I went to the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. and was flabbergasted because suddenly there are all these devices that I've seen in movies, spy movies that were real, of lying and deceit. And I was like, this is the world we live in? All this deception occurs? Because in my mind, I surround myself with people who have proven that they are trustworthy, who have proven that they're honest and live with integrity. And those are the people I want to surround myself with. I think of those as heavenly qualities, as evolved qualities. People who lie all the time, who deceive. Those are considered lower vibratory qualities, and I don't want that around me. I don't want to be in, frankly, I don't want to be in a country that's constantly practicing lies and deceit. That makes me deeply, deeply uncomfortable. So how do you connect with this? It is a common thing amongst those on the spectrum that they just don't get it. They just don't connect with it. I get physically deeply uncomfortable in my body if I try to lie. Like, my whole body starts to cramp up and itch and my gut gnarls up and it just feels terrible. But that's the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world of truth and transparency because that is a much more spiritually evolved way to be. And this ties into another quality, something that we say we as humans aspire to: justice, fairness. Everyone is equal under the law. Everyone is deserving of dignity, respect, of being treated well. But we live in a world where, we saw a former president get off scot-free despite doing tremendous injustices to our country and to the world. And how wrong that feels in our body. How terrible that feels. No, you did something bad. You did something wrong. You deserve to pay the price. And people who do good things, those people who are beneficent and altruistic and caring, should have good things happen to them. And that doesn't compute in this world. This vibratory level that Earth is on, it's an interesting place in the cosmos. This Earth it's very much in the middle. It's got both high and low vibrations. And right now it seems like a lot of the low vibratory energy is coming to the surface, and we see a lot of injustice. In this country, as an American, we see a lot of injustice, a lot of people being forced into prison systems just by virtue of their skin color or their class or where they were born. The injustice right now is terrible in many ways. And those of us who are neurodivergent are very affected by this. We just don't get it. We say fair is fair, karma is real. If you act away, you should get a certain response. You should have certain karma coming to you. And then taking this one step further, cruelty. I just don't get cruelty. It costs so little to be kind, to listen to someone's story, to care. Because we feel one another's feelings. We experience it as our own. And so to hurt someone intentionally, to cause pain intentionally, not only does it create bad karma, not only is it a negative spiritual thing, but just on a human level, I don't get it. And it's one of the few things that can make me truly upset, because I'm usually a pretty mellow person. But if I see an animal or a child getting hurt intentionally, I can lose my shit. If someone I love who did nothing wrong gets attacked or hurt, again, I'm a chill person, but angry mama bear Kaylin can come out and I could do some serious damage when I see somebody being victimized. It's not okay. I don't understand it. Like, seriously, being kind to one another, it's not that hard. Just treat each other well. Stop it. Stop being a jerk. And this is the thing that's very common for neurotypical people. We just don't understand cruelty. We don't understand why anyone would behave this way. It just doesn't work within our brain structure. And frankly, I would prefer to live in a world where that was the norm, where everybody felt that way. Of like, why would you do that? Why would you go kick that person? That wasn't a nice thing to do. Go apologize. Go make it right. And then the other person would be like, you're absolutely right. What was wrong with me? I'm so sorry. That's the world I want to live in. That's a higher vibratory level. And I'm just going to throw out there, if you're still watching the video at this point, then I haven't chased you off. I personally identify as having lived multiple previous lifetimes, not on this planet. And coming back to this specific vibration was very jarring for me. Felt like, oh, this place, it's so tense, it's so heavy. People are so terrible here. Send me back to where I'm used to being. Send me back to my higher realm, my little star cluster where everybody's kind and virtuous and loving and enlightened. That's so much nicer. But here again is an interesting place, because here's one of the not so many places in the cosmos where you can incarnate and make a lot of spiritual progress, where you can heal and change. I once had a spiritual teacher say that Earth was the Bellevue, the insane asylum of the universe. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. This is a place where a lot of damaged souls can go and heal. And that can be great. That can be a tremendous place to level up. But as the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. When people are damaged, they tend to inflict damage. And so, from my point of view, these people who come in and have this strong internal compass for right and wrong, good and bad, fairness, equity, equality, justice, kindness, compassion, those are more spiritually evolved souls. And yes, this world that is broken and fucked up and saying bad is good, evil is right, are going to look at virtuous people and say, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. And no, we're not the problem. We are not the problem. It's this world that's the problem. So don't let anyone make you ever feel bad for your connection to truth, honesty, and integrity, because it's beautiful and it is holy. Neurodivergent people also tend to have a very rich inner life. We tend to have very strong visions, auditory experiences. We can have these beautiful experiences just turning our focus within. And I think we see this with a lot of creatives. Great artists, great musicians, great inventors, great scientists have this connection to this deeper world, whether we view it as internal or outside of ourselves. In fact, the word genius didn't used to apply to a person. It used to apply to a spirit that was visiting them, that a genius would come and visit you. And so those of us who have this ability to tap into these deeper worlds or these other worlds, maybe higher realms, maybe we're actually tapping in to some other vibratory plane of existence. And then we're able to bring that back into this world. I know a term that's come up a lot is maladaptive daydreaming, that we're just escaping this reality. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. Maybe we're saying, you know what, this plane of existence doesn't vibe with my frequency. I'm going to go to a higher level. I'm going to go to a different realm and start to live there and pull some of that information back. And this is a deep spiritual practice. People who develop the ability to tap into other realms, other layers of consciousness, whether you go down into the underworld in shamanic journeys, or you go up into higher realm and astral travel, and then bring that information back, accessing the Akashic records, accessing the divine godhood, accessing our ancestors or other parallel universes, to be able to visualize and connect with deities and omens and signs. I view that as a tremendously spiritual tool and not something that's negative at all. We also tend to have this amazing ability to focus, that we can dive deep into something that interests us and just forget to eat, forget to sleep, because we were just hyper zoned in on this thing. And if that is spiritually oriented, if that's directed towards serving others, planting a garden, walking in nature, taking care of an animal, meditating, praying, chanting, visualizing, making mandalas, doing those sort of things, that can serve as a tremendous tool that we see mystics, monks, shamans using to be able to access altered states and glean divine information. It's not a bad thing that you're able to hyperfocus. It's really a tremendous boon. And then the last thing I'll bring up is our connection to the natural world. People who are neurodivergent tend to have a really strong connection to nature and animals. I know for myself, my dogs are some of my best friends. And frankly, I'd rather spend time with them than 99.5% of humans. Because I love being around humans who are calm, centered, spiritually attuned, loving, compassionate, friendly, easygoing, have their emotions in check. But unfortunately, those humans are not easy to come by. So I have a couple really close friends, I have my beautiful spouse, and then apart from that, I usually just keep the rest of the humans at bay unless I'm working with them. And that's okay. I feel much more at home, much more connected walking through a grove of trees and feeling their presence than I do at a shopping mall. I feel much more connected. I feel much more centered. And interestingly enough, do you know that trees have neurotransmitting chemicals? They have plant equivalents of serotonin and stress hormones. So who's to say that they aren't thinking and feeling? In fact, there's a lot of research showing that they are. There's been research coming out around birds showing that their language is actually very complex and learned. It's not something they're born with, because we see adults teaching their young and correcting them. And that they have language for up, down, above, below. What kind of predator is coming? Where are they located currently? What level of threat is it? The sentience that exists in the natural world is far higher than our current popular culture gives it. And I think that's changing. Because we go back even 60 years, people didn't view their dogs as family. Now we do. Now we call them our furry children. I've heard stories about in the 1950s and 60s, families would euthanize their family pet because they were just going to go on a trip for a few weeks and didn't want to find someone to care for it. That was considered very normal. Nowadays, we would be shocked and appalled by that because we have begun to see at least our pets as being sentient creatures. And ideally, someday we'll evolve back into being a world where we treat all animals and all life forms and all of nature with that reverence and sacredness, and not, I am a meat eater, but the way that we treat animals in this food industry is disgusting and appalling and absolutely terrible. And people who are neurodivergent tend to tap into this. They tend to feel that resonance, that sameness with animals, to feel that, hey, I can communicate with you non-verbally. We are the same, we are one, and I appreciate you. I've heard it said that animals come from higher realms, especially dogs. Like they just give nothing but unconditional love. Like how angelic is that? And so I love that I have those connections, and I find them very nourishing. I share all this with you because I hope it allows you to see that you or somebody else you love who identifies as neurodivergent, you're not broken. You're not bad. You're not less than. Instead, these things are gifts. They're tremendous spiritual tools, and you are blessed to have them. I feel so blessed to have the brain I do, and my spouse tells me all the time, I wouldn't want you any different. That which makes you the way you are is so beautiful. These are your spiritual gifts. These are your superpowers. Don't ever let anyone make you feel bad because you function differently. But it can be hard to exist on this plane at this time when people don't respect it and they don't see it. But I hope me sharing these things with you today maybe gave you a little new frame of reference to see that you are beautiful. You are perfect as you are. You are deserving of love and respect. You are deserving of being treated well. And I hope you have people affirming that for you. And if this was resonant for you, if this brought you any insights or new meaning, please tell me about it. In the comments, drop a comment. Let me know what stood out to you. I want to hear. And if you don't mind, give it a like, hit subscribe, turn notifications on. I'm in the process of rebuilding my YouTube channel, and that support is really beneficial. So thank you very much. And if you ever need someone to talk to, I offer free consultation calls, so do not hesitate to reach out. My email is k@ecstaticself.com. I would love to hear from you. Wherever you are in the world, may you be blessed, may you be well, may you shine bright. All my best wishes.